1. Okay, boys and girls, how do we start this off? We write it in y equals notation, right?
Yes.
And then what's the very first important step when finding an inverse?
Switch it.
Swap the x and y, because inverses, domain and ranges swap, so we just literally swap the x and y. Now we're doing reverse PEMDAS, or inverse operations in reverse order. So let's think about, we're trying to isolate y. So how do we isolate y? As we go to the outside, what's the first thing we should do? Add 3. So I'm just going to say it's x plus 3. Write the rest of it. Then what?
Then you divide by 6.
Divide by 6. So then I've got this thing in parentheses, even though you don't have to write the parentheses, the 6's cancel. How do I get rid of the squaring?
You square root it.
You square root both sides. So let me rewrite this as x plus 3 over 6 equals y plus 2, because the square root of stuff squared cancels out. What's the last step? Subtract 2. Now notice how I didn't try to combine or simplify anything. That's it. Okay? So let's think about real quick. I want you guys to see that this is actually the inverse is rad x plus 3 over 6 minus 2. Let's go back to our original equation. Let's do inverse operations in reverse order. Stop and pay attention, because all the other classes really like how they see this. So first off, I'll use green. What's the first thing to happen to y right there? What is it, according to the order of operations? Everybody say it's plus 2. Plus 2. It's inside the parentheses, right? So the first thing that happened was, we added 2. Then we have y plus 2. What's more important according to PEMDAS? Is it the squaring or multiplying by 6? It's the squaring. So I'm going to say just squaring came next. So that means we have this stuff. Okay, so what's next? Multiplying or subtracting? The multiplying. So it's multiplied by 6, and that makes it this stuff right here. And then what's the last step? Subtract 3. Now, inverse operations in reverse order. You guys ready for this? Watch, this is really cool. Inverse operations in reverse order. So we're talking about what happens to x. What's the inverse of subtracting 3? Adding 3. Look right there. What's the inverse of multiplying by 6? Dividing by 6. Look right there. What's the inverse of squaring? Square root. Look right there. What's the inverse of adding 2? Subtracting 2. Look right there. See how all that works out? I don't know. I think that's pretty cool.